Hi everybody, my name is Oshun the Great, and welcome to my beautiful channel. Now today's story time is going to be a little bit crazy, and some of you guys may have been keeping up with me for a little while now, or maybe you're new, but I have been interracial dating and things like that, and I've been expressing myself how I felt about that lately. I'm probably going to touch on that and my dating experience in general and how this situation that I'm going to talk about came about today and how I'm kind of really still in it. But I'm taking a risk and just expressing myself in this situation because of freedom of speech. Fuck it. And I am trying to get myself out of this situation as we speak. And I feel like I shouldn't have to lay down and submit. So this is totally my side of the story. So this is how I feel, everything how I feel. Obviously this person may feel how they feel in there and whatever they feel, but I'm gonna say my perspective. So some of you guys may have noticed that my latest boyfriend per se has been on some of my latest videos. We made a video called Soulmates, the Life of a YouTuber Soulmate Edition. You may have seen that we met kind of like on my Wanderlust series. So it was all good and dandy. I met this man. I'm not gonna say his name, but he said his name in other videos. Some of you guys know he's a white boy too. And before I met him, just a disclaimer, I was totally about to just quit dating white boys altogether because I was just thinking like, man, I always pick these same men and they don't get anything about my culture. They don't get anything about the struggles I go through. And I noticed that I don't get treated with the same courtesy as white women get treated with. So at that point, I was like, oh, I'm just done dating white men. But then I happened to meet him on Tinder. And yes, Tinder. And I'm not ashamed of Tinder because I'm very pro-sex and I am a very sexual human being. And I understand, like, for a woman, I come off from a very man's perspective, but that's because I'm comfortable in my sexuality. But I met this man on Tinder with no intent but to get some dick. I'm being so honest. But it kind of, in that journey, it kind of blossomed into something more. We both thought there was a bigger connection and we wanted to explore that further. But the part where this started going downhill is that when he met me, I was in a very vulnerable spot because some of you guys knew that I was working. I went from Florida to work on a cruise ship, saved some money, and I started wondering. At that point when he met me, I was running out of money. I actually ran out of money. And sorry, I don't know what they're doing outside, but I ran out of money. And he kind of got me in a vulnerable spot. Like he came like play this savior role. Like it wasn't really a play, but it's like that's how it came off. It was like, oh, my savior kind of energy because he would just come pay for everything, all this and that. And he knew I was staying at a hostel, which I wanted to do. That was my journey. I wanted to wander, work in a hostel, work in volunteer situations, live rent free, all of that kind of stuff. But I started to panic. So it's like, yeah. But it was not only that made me want, like, that's another story. The next part of the story is moving in together. Sorry, you guys, my phone is dying. And honestly, I hope this story can save from heartbreak because this kind of ended up in a very bad situation and a little heartbreak on my part. But I'm kind of strong and I can get through it because I see the bigger picture now. But this is what happened next. So sorry about all the clutter, like. He's trying to move shit in his house and stuff like that. And I'll lead to like what I'm trying to do now and after this situation and all that. So we met each other. I was in a very vulnerable spot. I was wondering because that's what I wanted to do. But at that point I was like, shit, well, I'm going to have to be somewhere long enough to make money again. Even if I do want to continue wandering, I'm going to need a place where I feel comfortable to make money again. And it was at that point that we started talking for like 2 weeks or so. We kind of like moved in together right away. I had to move all the way from San Diego to Sacramento. And, you know, he promised me that he would be a provider and I didn't have to work and all this shit. And please do not fall for that. Unless the man is very like rich or very successful in business and stuff like that and willing to like work with you on like budgets and shit like that. Like don't fall for anything like that. You always want to have like a backup plan, like savings, money, and a job and shit like that. But it all seemed like, you know, this thing that was like such a good plan. And like I was in a very vulnerable spot. And I'm being so vulnerable with you guys. And like, yeah, he was white. But at the same time, I feel like, oh, he treats me like I'm human. He treats me like this and that. He spends all this money on me. That means he sees my worth. And money isn't the end all be all. But if you know your worth, like you know what you deserve. You know you deserve gifts. You know that you should be treated at the most high. then that's how I was approaching it. Like, okay, he knows, you know, he knows, he's down. And then I came here, and then all hell started breaking loose because we started having a lot of like racial instances where it was like on his part, it was a lot of racial insensitivity. So like saying the N-word, as even if it was as to like express someone else, say like that was my first red flag, and ever since I couldn't trust him anymore. And so I kind of tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because the situation again seemed too good to be true. And even when I came here, it was such a situation where he was giving me such sugar daddy vibes, like, and then all that ceased. I was like, oh, something's really going on here. So it just all started taking a turn. So I just started feeling like I was trapped here and in this situation and promised something that I wasn't given. And in that, I started getting intuitive insights on, like, you know, never underestimate the insight of a woman's intuition. So, like, he came off as a really nice guy. His family swears by him and everything like that. But for me, I don't listen to just words. And being a psychic medium, being highly sensitive and gifted, like, never, ever, ever put your intuition on the back burner, men or women. So I started getting insight that he was still probably fucking around with his ex. And I would ask him about it, and he would swear, like, oh, I'm not messing with anyone, I don't cheat, and I don't this and that. But then every time he said that, it didn't ring true. So to me, I felt like my feeling of that feeling was valid. So and then just paying attention to his actions and mannerisms and things like that. And at this point, I feel like he's trying to be the good guy and not trying to portray that he's a cheater and stuff like that. He wants to look good in this part. So we're at this situation where he doesn't want to, like, kick me out, and because he doesn't want to look like he's the bad guy kind of thing. But I wanted to express this because this shit happens, and, like, he may see this shit, but I'm taking a chance because, like, fuck it. I felt very wronged in this situation. He may not have known that I was so pro-Black and feminist when we met, because when he met me, I was very spiritual and a sweetheart. But then when he got to know me, and he swore by me that he would try to understand my protest outlooks and things like that, none of that happened either. So it was really a shitty situation. And for me, I was promised to have a base and foundation to go to school and start school. And I'm still working on that kind of foundation, because that seems like the ideal next move, because I figured out after this situation, I'm supposed to be independent until I get on my own 2 feet. And I still do like the idea of having a provider, but I need a man who is respecting of me and who is strong enough to handle who I am as a woman. A lot of people have this misconception that because Black women call people out on their shit, they're less feminine. And I kind of got that vibe for him. After a while, like, he just stopped fucking with me on a deeper, intimate level because of that. And plus the side chick shit. And I hope they see this, because they need to be called out on this shit. But you guys probably like, what the fuck? No, but never underestimate the intuition of a woman. Yeah, so now it's at this point where I'm trying to work from this base with all this shit hanging over my head. So I don't ever want you guys to be, like, in this situation that I found myself in, because I was in a tight spot. And it's kind of making me to force myself to be someone who I'm really not. Like, I wasn't trying to be in the Matrix in the first place again. I was wandering, and I kind of forgot who I was. And I know who I am and who I have the potential to be. So now you're in a situation where people don't see your potential, or they only see you for your protest outlooks or whatever the case may be, and they don't see where you're trying to go, and they don't want you to go succeed or go a certain way. They rather paint you as a bad guy or whatever the case is, when you know what's true and what's true to you and what's really going on in the bigger picture. Some people, I feel like, play Black people and women like they're dumb. So, and I peeped that, and I feel like in this situation that was the case, even though it is said to be otherwise. But I felt like I wasn't respected at all after I was basically tricked here, kind of thing. So that was my little story of how the reason why I thought we were kind of soulmates, because he would play that card a lot. Like, I feel like he would play off of my spirituality and be like, you know, but we're soulmates. It's such a good connection. And then I come here and I wasn't promised a lot of the things that I was promised. And maybe it's no one's fault per se, but again, you don't want to find yourself in this situation. And I think a lot of women, even myself, we still rely on the fairy tale and we're very emotionally attached to a lot of things. And when someone is telling us things, we don't look at the bigger picture or the red flags. So again, I've touched on if you feel like you're getting signs that your man or husband is gay, because a lot of men do have cover-ups still nowadays. I'm not saying this person is before anyone like flips their shit, but even if you think someone is messing around, those ideas don't necessarily come out of the blue. Like, yes, there may be traumas and things that may have happened to you in the past that makes you conscious and worried. But if you start off right off the bat that your relationship is shaky because like of a feeling, and you didn't have that initially in your mind, and like sometimes like 9 times out of 10 you could be right. So it's like you may not have evidence, but if like you're arguing with your man and he coming home happy as shit, or he comes home a day late, or like middle of the night type of shit, or like you know what I mean, it's just signs that every woman can pick up. It's really obvious, even without all the dramatic shit like that. It's really obvious still, because women are smart and people don't like to acknowledge that. But yeah, so that's the situation. And honestly, how I feel about the whole thing is like, at first, like last night, I was feeling really, really, really hurt about it. And I was called out a lot on my channel on my Instagram, because his family, his ex, or whoever he's dealing with likes to look at my shit and report it to him. And I blocked all of him and his family on my shit, because I am pro-Black and I am feminist, and I understand that they can misconstrued all the shit I say as racist or prejudice, which Black people can't be racist, they can be prejudiced. But a lot of stuff I call white people out on is not geared towards every white person. If the shoe fits, the shoe fits. Like, my job is to show people how I'm being treated in these situations, for example. So if you have Black women or people of color trying to get into these situations, you know what could go wrong. Not all the time, but what could go wrong. My job is to bring awareness and educate my community as well. And for me, I just need to get back to my roots. I haven't been around women or Black people in a long time from after leaving Florida and traveling. And it's kind of like taking a toll on me. And I kind of learned my lesson the hard way of like dating white men. Again, it's not to say that there won't ever be like a white man that comes along and understands me, but a lot of times, because of their privilege and their standpoint in society, they don't get it. And sometimes I feel, I'm going to speak freely, I feel like some interracial things work because people want to push it to work, because a lot of people play the card of I don't see color on both sides, Black and white people. And that's, for me, is dangerous and it's detrimental, because you're not fixing any real issues. It's just like the people who push equality and want to make up and hug people, and they're not fixing the real issue. So this is kind of the situation where I'm coming from now. And for me, I just need to go my ass to school and focus on myself at this point. And I do feel played. I mean, I feel like in this situation, him and his family was trying to make it seem like I was being played, but seeing as there is another person in this puzzle, I'm played like a bitch in this situation. Even when I pressed him for not spending money in the budget that he supposedly is supposed to give me. All of that stuff is so many factors that play into this. And so you never want to be depending or relying on someone, even family members, even people, anyone, because they misuse their power like 100% of the time. No matter how good you're treating them, how much you want to conform to submit to them anyway, they're still going to misuse their power if they can. And that's just what it is at times. That's just like the human condition. And so there's no real right and wrong. I just feel like I should have been smarter. But again, I learned this from this lesson too. And maybe or maybe not, when I leave, he learns this lesson, and maybe he won't, and maybe he doesn't care. He just wants to be the good guy. And I understand conditioning, social conditioning, and mask and wearing mask. So, and I'm very intuitive and I'm very smart. Like it's people think that Black people or women can't use context clues or put 2 and 2 together, or like just look at behaviors, look at, how much you're doing something or who you're talking to, all these things. It's not even necessarily you have to go into a motherfucker's phone. It's just being aware. So yeah, in that sense, I feel played, like I wasn't intelligent enough. I wasn't treated fairly because of my skin color, and because I was portrayed like to be a gold digger when I was promised to have something when I first came here. So that is how I fucking feel. And I feel like it's up to me to voice that shit. And that's what I'm doing to you guys today. Because And I'm gonna keep our shit up about like our soulmate shit and stuff like that, because like I'm just keep it up. I'm not gonna feel a type of way or whatever. But like I was feeling a type of way like last night. He didn't come home all day and shit, and I was like, oh shit, you know. And he cut off the dick, and I'm a very big pro sex person, and either those are signs like before we even broke up. Those are signs like this, like people were seeing other people, and this is stuff that you want to be aware of. But like. I feel like I just deserve much better, and maybe again that is my lesson. How I felt, I was really attached last night. I was very emotional, very this and that. But once we spoke everything out and all my race shit, and I was like, so you have a problem with me talking about white people? That's not gonna change. I meant everything I said. So at that point, I knew why we were supposedly quote unquote friends, and like I didn't want to change that. I didn't even want the dick anymore. Because in like sometimes I do feel uncleanly. Like I didn't want to view him as the oppressor or a part of the issue. But now I feel like again, if people say all lives matter or I don't see color, then you're part of the issue for me. And for me, I felt uncleanly for like going out my way for like white dick. And I'm just being so real. And for me in the future, I would never do that again. I would never go out my way for a white dick. Like if there's a man that comes along that's a good man, no matter what his skin color is, if he's a good man, he's a good man. And that's just how I view it. I don't know who I'm going to marry in the future, but I do know they're going to be damn good because I am damn good and I think of myself highly. But I know this person will be very strong and be able to handle me and my truth. So with that being said, that's my little story time of I thought we were soulmates. I was played. Maybe they feel like him and his family feel like he was being played, but ultimately, if you hear my side, tell me what you think. I would love to hear what you guys think. I'm here to be vulnerable with you guys because who knows, my story might inspire someone or you might be able to relate or have some insight on the future if you decide to do some shit like this. But yeah, be dopey unapologetically. Peace.